How's it going, you lovely people? It is officially the day of the spring major. But before we start the spring major, we've got to detail some of the matches. We've got a double header for you guys today. We've got the top seeds, G2 and BDS, going against their opponents, G2 versus Gladiators from APAC South, making their debut. And then we've got BDS versus Team Secret. We're going to break down G2 Gladiators first, then we'll do BDS and Team Secret second. We're going to go through these pretty quick. Otherwise, we're going to have like a 40-minute video, but this is going to be your last match to pay attention to before we get into the actual spring major in London on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Wednesday. I can't even talk. All right, let's talk G2 and Gladiators. We're going to start with G2 and then we'll talk Gladiators. G2 is a pretty easy one to break down just because they are very, very talented. Big strengths. They're essentially NV 2.0. As I've talked with Chrome, very, very counterattack heavy. Their counterattack game is impeccable on the defensive side, but they also pair it with a really solid offense. The biggest thing that I would put under them for their strength is their control. They do a really good job of dictating the way that you need to play the game and the way that they want to facilitate that game. They can play defensive, bring you in, hit you with a crazy counterattack, an outlet pass, and then downfield. They can also play super fast aggressive on offense and average those 12 to 15 shots a game. They do a really good job of controlling the game and making you and forcing you to play that way. Their defensive side has very clean rotations. They do a really good job of making sure that there is an understanding of how we want to play. And part of the reason why is the way they alleviate pressure. This is something that G2, I think, has worked a lot on, especially with Sathu and their coach. In the past, G2 was very susceptible to playing overly aggressive and getting punished for it. They brought in Drees, started to clean it up a little bit. And with Atomic, there just seems to be no excuse for it now. Very rarely does G2 get punished on defense unless you are disrupting and opening a demo. If they're allowed to play their game, if they're allowed to play their rotation, they're very tough to score on. The other side of things, their play style in particular, it makes it seem like you have to go for the ball and play and clear the ball quickly, which just leads into them. Like, there will be numerous times where they're forcing you to play fast. Oh crap, they're going to challenge. I have to get rid of this ball. And then all of a sudden, no one's there. And you clear the ball right into someone sitting in the midfield. They dime that across field and they put a shot top left. Usually JNAPs. It's weird how they like condition you to play a certain play style and then they back off. Super fast, super aggressive. And then I don't know what's said in the communication. Usually it's Chicago. He's a big vocal leader for them. We'll just be like, all right, hold the line. And then the ball comes to them and then they score. I've seen it so many times where they just don't challenge. They throw the ball downfield. You think there's going to be pressure and immediate challenge like you've been conditioned to do the first 3 minutes. And then all of a sudden you're passing the ball to that player instead. And now they've got a 3v2 for free. It's impressive. It really is. I love what G2's been doing. There's a reason why they've been so dominant lately. They also always look for each other. There's just this general understanding. And a lot of that goes in hand. They understand where each other are. And their communication is great. Chicago, as a massive vocal leader for this team, helps a lot. JNAPS has also been helping out with this a lot because he has been positioned now into the third man with the addition of Atomic. And you've seen how good JNAPS has been lately. He's playing his best Rocket League yet again. He continues to be dominant. His vision in the back of the field just finds ways to be successful. It's actually pretty crazy. So either they are playing how they want to, they're able to find each other, and if they don't, they play it in a position that's free. They'll either launch it into the corner where somebody isn't or play it into open space. And if they can't do that because it's covered, they play it high and do their best to make sure it doesn't hit the ceiling. So you have to go up and get it and play and use a lot of boost. They are very, very smart with the way that they dish the ball away if they have to. If they're throwing possession, they're getting something out of it, and it's either your boost or someone out of position. The other thing is if they're stuck on defense, they demo on rotation really well. There's a lot of times when they are stuck and it's in a 2v3 situation, the first player is rotating back. They will find a demo, and then all of a sudden it's a 2v2, and the one person that you're expecting to go after that first challenge isn't there anymore. Allows them to break out. Demo on rotation back is really good. They do a really good job of alleviating that pressure, both with quick clears, but also making sure that if they are under sustained pressure, someone's going to get demoed. I highly recommend look out for that. If you are a person watching G2 and it looks like, oh shoot, they haven't been able to get it clear in a while, look for that demo. Someone's going to break out. They're going to go for the midfield boost, either the 100 or otherwise, and collect pads. And on their way back, they're going to look to demo somebody. Overall, Atomic, the addition of Atomic has been a really good strength. He is providing a lot of uniqueness to that offense, and that then pairs the ability for JNAPS to go back to what I feel is most comfortable as the third person in rotation primarily. While he still moves up and is very successful, I think JNAPS having to be the second or the first in rotation kind of removes him from his best asset, which is surveying the field, making the right decision, whether that be a pass or a perfect shot with his placement. but he does a really good job of efficiency on offense. And a lot of that is just because of what Atomic brings and the pop-off potential. And the last but not least, because JNaps, I do think, is probably the best third man in North America, at least. EU and probably the world goes to Monkey Moon. Their kickoffs on G2 are impeccable. I don't know what it is. G2 scores so many kickoff goals, and it's such a tactic that is intentional. There is an innate understanding of where people are going to be, how it's going to pinch, where the ball is going to go, the read on it. G2 is probably one of the best kickoff teams in the world. I would argue to say they are the best kickoff team in the world. There is something that they do that they find a way to always get possession and almost always score off of it. I consider a kickoff goal kind of like how overtime should be done in the NFL, where each team should get a chance to play on offense. So the kickoff happens, this team gets possession, they go and try to score, that team saves it, they push it the other way, they try to score. To me, that would lead to then a kickoff goal. And I think G2 does a really good job within that first 15 to 17 seconds, where they will force a team error. They did this against Space Station numerous times. Me and Chrome talked about this. Space Station would force an own goal, and then immediately after that own goal, G2 would then find a way to maintain possession on the kickoff, and then score again. Now they're up by 2. That is such a swing that you can never really count them out of a series, and you've seen that. You look at G2 score lines, they're never out of a game even when they're down by 3, and that's part of the reason due to their kickoffs. Let's go to their weaknesses. Once you do find their strengths and weaknesses, if you look at all the strengths that we just detailed and you are understanding of those, understanding that they may just not come challenged. They are going to try to force you. Their kickoffs are lethal. You need to be prepared for them. There is a game plan that you can understand. They have a game plan that they're very successful with, and you can adapt to that. It makes it easier to score. The other thing that Chrome was talking about is that they're very set in their ways. They play the way they want to play, and if you don't conform to their play style and they try to make those adjustments, the natural tendencies that they've worked so hard to build kind of fall apart a little bit. I forget what team I was talking about. I think it was Moist. When they're not able to play their playstyle and things are a little bit awkward for them, they get frustrated and they start to force things. I wouldn't say G2 forces it. It's just they're not as crisp to getting to the challenge. They're not as crisp in the right position to make this play develop. So being able to identify what their playstyle is and how to break it down is really important. And when you do, usually can come out ahead. This is why V1 has a really good playstyle and a really good record against G2 recently. The disruption, the demos, the ability to stop that clean rotation opens up some options. You're forced to be a little bit out of position. You're not as quick to the ball. And when you're the one controlling the pace of the game, G2 starts to fall apart a little bit. Still difficult to do, but it is possible. And last but not least, you can outpace G2. If you are super fast, super mechanical, you can beat G2 to the ball. The difficulty, though, is they like to play fast. When G2 plays fast, everything just falls into place. So you can outpace them. You can beat them to the ball, but they're also accommodating and willing to do that. If you can change playstyle, that's the biggest thing. V1 is probably the best answer I have, just because they have shown, I think, like a 3-1 record against them in the last 4 matchups. The ability to change the pace. Beast mode slows the ball down on defense, goes for an air dribble pass. Maybe they got to go off of it. All of a sudden, now they're going for tons of demos, super fast rotation offense, putting in a ton of shots. That mix-up is tough to adjust to split second, and is where, because G2 wants to control the pace and needs to control the pace, they are susceptible. So enough of G2. A lot of things to talk about because they're very talented. Let's talk about Gaming Gladiators. The first representation of APAC South. Strengths, speed and mechanics. Super fast, super aggressive. Clearly the best mechanical team in the region, by far. APAC South in Gaming Gladiators also scrims a ton against a lot of the teams in other regions. They scrim OCE a lot, believe it or not. They have shown outplay potential from top to bottom. They're very physical. They have solid team plays, and they can also still hit the solo plays with the double flip resets. Are they going to get as much space? I don't know, but they do have the capability to do it. Good and bad, they're fast, but they do challenge everything. That can be punished. On their weaknesses, they are very momentum-based. We've seen this numerous times where if they start to go down, they dig a hole and it goes out very quickly. Rather than recognizing that X things don't work, and this happens a lot to newer teams, this one thing isn't working, even though it's what you rely on, they then just keep doing it, hoping it's going to click. Even though the other team is like, I know this is what you're going to do, and we're just going to keep doing the thing that works against it. We're going to counter it every single time. They force it. Double commits, hesitation, plays they just shouldn't go for. Things like that can be punished very easily, and their defense can be exploited. Reminds me of the OG South American teams. We're super fast. We're super aggressive. We do a bunch of really exciting high-flying things, but we overcommit. We're too aggressive, and we get counterattacked like crazy. These regions aren't used to defenses that can handle this type of offense. but the major regions have been handling that for quite a while now. So they know to cover the backboard. They know to challenge a little bit earlier. They know to force the flip reset high or low so the person behind them can make a save. It takes 2 to save this one guy. They know that. And when that type of stuff isn't playing and you're trying to force things, it doubles down and you get scored on it. So for that reason, I do think Gladiators, I'm hoping, can take an individual game, but I do see G2 winning this one. I'm going to give 1 to Gladiators just because I want to see APAC South do something, but I'm going to go 3-2 G2 in my verdict, or 3-1 G2 in my verdict. I do not expect G2 to lose this one. G2, even in scrims, is looking absolutely stellar. I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. They look ready to play. They should be favorites to win the whole thing. So G2 versus Gladiators, 3-1. Over to the next in our doubleheader is the last match that I have to talk about for y'all today. It is BDS versus Team Secret. We're going to start with Team Secret and go in from there. Underrated team. A lot of people don't really give enough credit, I would say, to Team Secret. But their mechanical play, and this could be said about most teams nowadays going to the World Championship and the majors, a lot of mechanics. In South America, they are one of the most mechanical teams. They arguably have better mechanics than Kaio and Card, believe that or not. Sad, another KBM player, and the rest of that squad, very, very talented. Kaio and Card, although I will say, I just saw Card 1v3 a team with a flip reset and then a fake challenge and some. It was pretty nasty. So I don't know if I agree with this claim coming from some of the Chamaco, but Team Secret shouldn't be one to slouch on. Very good mechanics. But there is respect because Jan built different. Jan, very good. And that's probably their only strength, if I'm being 100%. You compare them to the rest of the teams in the major, and they're fast, but they're not as fast as everybody else. Their shots are accurate, but that itself isn't going to open itself up. They've got to overextend a little bit to get the bumps in the demo game, which Sam doesn't really do all that much. So they've got to find more unique ways other than mechanics to open up the field, and I think that's where they struggle. The infield passes aren't as crisp. They're kind of telegraphed a bit. That tends to be a bit problematic. The one thing they do well, more than others, I would say, in Sam, is their backboard reads. They're very good at using the backboard and even just throwing it up there and then not going and trying to use that to draw somebody out. So they'll launch it at the backboard. Hopefully somebody will go up to make a save. And then hopefully BDS doesn't air dribble that the other entire side of the field. But they usually won't challenge that initial backboard touch. They'll wait to challenge after it starts to get cleared out. And that can open up some opportunities. The other side is we don't necessarily know if anything else really stands out. And that's kind of a detriment. I know Secret's working really hard on some things, but it feels like they just get outclassed by a lot. And that's been the issue with OCE and Sam number 2, is they just tend to not live up to the number 1s or the other competition. We are hoping to see the number 2 seeds from Sam and OCE hopefully get a win. So as for their, I wouldn't consider it a strength or a weakness. I'd put it right in the middle as like an other. They can be good and bad at this. They are aggressive and are not afraid to take risks, which I think is important on LAN. The ability to, although this could be a detriment and it could put us out of position, we're not afraid to catch you off guard. They will punish mistakes. They will be a little bit overzealous at times, and that can surprise teams. And in a best of 5, that can come out and be beneficial. On the other side, if it does get saved, then they're in the detriment for a counterattack. So it goes a little bit, but they can extend a little bit too much. They can double commit a little bit too much. So that aggressive nature is something to be concerned about. As for the weaknesses, they do rely a little bit too much on the mechanics. This is where I think it's going to be a problem, because even though they have good mechanics, are they better than some of the other teams in the world? Primarily BDS. Probably not. They do also have a lot of inexperience. Other than math, the rest of the players in the team are extremely young and inexperienced when it comes to live events, especially LAN events. While their coach is a well-known retired player, they lack the international experience as a team, and he hasn't been coaching for that long. And experienced coaches make a big difference. The kind of been there, done that allows them to take a perspective of like, hey, this is kind of how it goes. This is an expectation we can set. They're basically like a Sherpa when they have experience, being like, yeah, this is what you can expect. You know this is going to happen. And then they have that thing happen. They go, okay, yeah, I can rely on that. And they kind of get into a level of comfort. So that is of some concern, not having that experience. And even though they are a bit more physical than Furious, Sam in general just isn't that aggressive in the bumps demo game for disruption, which I think is going to be needed for them to open up some opportunities. We talked about backboard. People cover the backboard now, especially BDS. So the bumps demos things are something that they don't do as much, and they have a tough time avoiding it, which I talked about with Furia as well. Their defense in general is a little bit disorganized. There is still some double commits, still some refinement needed, and they do suffer from boost starving. If teams can deny their boost, they're SOL, because then the mechanics can't be done and they fall apart. Last but not least is their teamwork. because they rely heavily on teamwork. The teamwork with the passing and the infield and opening up stuff isn't as prevalent as it should be. Something that they still need to work on, and hopefully they get exposed by that a little bit in their scrims, and they then are like, oh, okay, we can do that too, and they implement it. They do pass the ball while attacking, but they don't really play together as much as they should to get the clears. G2 is something that they should definitely dive into and look at on how they accomplish that. But when they're under pressure, rather than trying to do it themselves, Sam in particular likes to solo dribble outside of defense. They like maintaining the possession close, but if that gets challenged in the midfield, it just falls down, and then they're screwed. So the other side of it is if that does happen and they are panicky on defense, which they probably will be with the pressure, they're just going to boom that ball into someone that's probably waiting. BDS will punish them for that. I expect this one probably to get out of hand a little bit. So it's just that, hey, if I boom the ball, it alleviates the pressure for half a second, but all of a sudden now you have a full strength of 3 coming at you, and that half a second wasn't enough to buy time. So a little bit concerned there. So I know you know this is the way this is going, and I hate to be that guy, but let's talk about BDS and their strengths. This is an uphill battle for the Team Secret roster. BDS is probably one of the most complete teams in the world alongside, I would actually give the Falcons. I think Falcons is also a very complete team. They always have someone filling a role, and their understanding of what that is. Seiko is first in rotation. Monkey is second in rotation. And then you have probably Seiko in rotation again, or obviously Extra is still there. This team has a hive mind mentality, even with Seiko, of understanding who goes for the ball and when. And when you have that pairing of Seiko and Monkey up front, and then that leaves Extra to do what he does and what he pleases, this team as a whole is so solid. There is nothing free given, and that applies on both offense and defense. They know how to punish. They also have this like Mighty Ducks V formation attack as a team mentality. It's not just individual efforts from solo plays from Seiko. It is a true team effort. When this ball gets transitioned the other way, all three have boosts and are in position to get ready to move the other way. They get to the ball fast. They rotate back fast. They transition well, both on offense and defense. They, as a whole, positioning-wise, is what it breaks down to, are one of the best in the world. There's a reason why this team has gotten only better, and we blame Eclipse with our conversation with him for creating a monster in BDS because Seiko is now over there. Obviously, there's nothing he can do about it. On the other side, their defense, very solid, very, very solid structure. They have a very good base level of understanding of this is who rotates, this is when we challenge and when we don't challenge. This is when we know we need to conserve boost, or if we need to hold on to it, or if we need to pass, clear, demo on rotation back. There's a good understanding of the game. Their game sense and IQ is through the roof. As for their weaknesses, they have a little bit of uniformity. Because they have a very solid structure, it can also be a bit predictable. Obviously, BDS is very good and has the mechanics, so that predictability sometimes doesn't matter, but they do, like G2, have a understanding of this is how we want to play. We're going to control the pace. This is what we do. And when that gets disrupted or people match that, it becomes a bit predictable. It becomes something that can be countered. There is an anticipation of structure that can let them down. It's not often, and me and Eclipse laughed about this. He said that. I'm like, yeah, but how often does that happen? And he's like, yeah, not very. But there is an anticipation of like, this is what we're going to expect, and BDS is going to do that exact same. They just do it so well that sometimes it doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do. As a team, they can also show some frustration. While things can be a bit predictable and they have the ability to basically come in and score on their initial attempts, if they don't, kind of like Moist at times, they become impatient. They force things. Monkey feels like he has to go and do this thing, or Seiko has to go for this crazy touch that ends up giving away possession that they get punished for. So if BDS stays patient and they continue to just rely on our clean rotations, our defense, and force teams to find a way to whittle them down, they look almost unstoppable. They look like a team that can't be beaten. So their biggest weakness is themselves, which is kind of weird to say because they are so good foundationally, because they have the mechanics and everything else that pairs for it. They are a roster that getting through is not easy. The only thing that does is if they start to be a little bit too impatient, they start to go for things they don't need to. So BDS as a whole, as a foundation, is arguably the best in the world. They are very, very good at it. So obviously you guys know where this is going. I think this could be one of the only sweeps in the first round. I think Team Secret can definitely get exploited. Maybe they come out of the gates swinging, but even if they do that, maybe they score some early goals. I do expect BDS by the end of the game to either tie it up or win. So I've got BDS actually my only sweep in the first round. 3-0 is what I have. But that is your doubleheader for the verdict. We've got G2 Gladiators and BDS Secret. That's what I have for my predictions. And I wish you guys the best for the spring major. It's been a lot of fun breaking these down on an individual level, and I'm glad we were able to get through all of them. I know we haven't done a video just yet on like playoff scenarios and world championship scenarios. The nice thing is today's matches, as they are the first round, no one is getting eliminated. No matches are getting eliminated. No one is going home. While there are some scenarios that are precedent on one win, based upon predictions, I don't think it should be an issue. So everybody should still be in the running. So tomorrow's video, we're going to have obviously the first matches. We're going to be excited about them, but because nobody's going home, I'm not necessarily doing a recap. Tomorrow's video is going to be world championship scenarios. What each team, what each region needs to do in order to go to the world championship. It's all broken down per region. So that should give you guys everything you need to know. So that said, that's what I've got for my final bracket. Take a gander. That's what we got for upper quarterfinals and lower round matches. We'll see if we're right. Probably not, because these best of fives are crazy in double elim. So should be a lot of fun, but I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. If you guys are in London on Thursday, come hang with us at the V1 watch party. I'll be there all day. I'll be there Friday as well. I'm also doing, I have a press and a media badge for behind the scenes interviews. So you can look forward to that when we get back, and some vlog stuff. Your boy's trying to grind some content for y'all. So if you guys want to see that stuff and you don't want to miss out on it, first and foremost, give the video a like if you enjoy it. It helps me out greatly, as well as hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on those latest videos, and we can hit 50K subs. So that is it. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.